I the a-hole for cutting off my ex-wife's kids I raised for 9 years when I found out they had been lying to me? I, 41 male, was married to my ex-wife, 38 female, for 2 years before we split up. She has 5 kids that I had been helping her raise for almost 9 years, as we had an on and off relationship before we got married. The kids are 22 female, 19 male, 17 male, 11 male, and 9 female. I have always had a great relationship with all the kids and treated them like my own. Their dads weren't really in the picture, and I was the man that stepped up to be there for them all. My ex and I would still spend time together and see each other after our initial split, as we were trying to work things out. During this time, she would date other men and have them in the home with the kids. I worked out of state and would talk to her and the kids regularly like a husband and father would, and would spend my days off with them all. Well, the line came into play when I found out on accident that the dad of 3 of the kids had gotten out of jail and was spending time with my wife and kids behind my back because no one wanted me to find out because he told them not to tell me. I was then informed that they had been covering for their mom's indiscretions the whole time I've known them. Full specifics: as I would come down from my work on my time off, the kids would all hide whatever man their mom was seeing at a time and tell the little ones to not say anything to me. That if I had found out what they were doing, I would have stopped paying all the bills and taking care of all of them. When I was told all of these things, I realized that I was just an ATM, and them and their mom never really cared about me. So I cut all contact with the entire family. I decided my feelings and my mental health was more important than constantly caring for people that don't care about me or how I felt about what was being done to me. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole at all. You're a stand-up guy to them, and they treated you poorly. End of story. Good luck to you. Not the a-hole or the ATM. Let's give them props for the teamwork though. Awful, but impressive they made it that long without spilling the beans. Even the kids betrayed you. Damn, son, that's rough. I'm sorry you went through that. Not the a-hole. A grifter raising little grifters. Glad you're out, Opie. Unfortunately, the only not the a-hole ones here are the 2 youngest, who have only known Opie as a father. You cannot blame young kids for doing what their mother tells them. The mom is horrible in so many levels. According to Opie, it has been going for 9 years, meaning even the oldest were young kids when dealing with us. None of the kids, from the youngest to the oldest, should be looked at fault here. The mother should. Those kids knew exactly what would happen and try their best to keep the family together the best way they know how. And this isn't even getting into what the mom may have told them to do. Add now confusing emotions of a deadbeat dad now popping up in the picture. They're just as much victims. Not the a-hole. Dating a single mom is fine. Dating a single mom with 5 kids from different fathers, at least one of which is in jail, might not be the best idea. Mom seemingly has a lifelong history of poor choices, it sounds like, having a kid at 16. I'd assume the 3 oldest are with a man in jail, and the 2 youngest are with a different man? Manipulating her kids into lying for her to cover for her affairs? They were together 9 years, but she has a 9-year-old with someone else? The whole situation is one messy red flag. The only sane decision in this whole crap show was him leaving this chaotic mess. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling people why my girlfriend and I broke up? My ex and I had been dating for over 2 years when she cheated on me at a Halloween party. She called me a few days afterwards to tell me she cheated. She claimed she felt bad about it as to why she was telling me, and claimed she felt like our relationship was over as to why she let it happen. I was super busy with work trying to make enough to get a place for both of us. I broke up with her and hung up. Then I updated my Facebook to say I was single again, and a couple of my friends asked me why on the update. I responded with, she cheated on me at a party. Well, roughly 7 hours later, my ex's friends and sister are blowing up my Facebook and phone, threatening me and calling me an a-hole for bringing strangers into our business. To which I feel that if she didn't want other people knowing she cheated on me, maybe she shouldn't have freaking cheated on me. So I guess am I the a-hole for being honest to people about why I broke up with that girl, or should I have just acted like it was mutual? Not the a-hole. This has the vibe of, if you don't want people to know you are an a-hole, then don't be an a-hole. She made her bed. Let her lay in it. I know you are probably hurt right now, Opie. Know that with time it will heal the wounds she has caused you. I wish you positive vibes. Thank you. This happened a couple years ago, but it took me a long while to get my head right again over it and start dating again. I am curious, what was the aftermath and the reason the friends inserted themselves when it wasn't their business either? The aftermath I gather from snooping a bit shortly after the split, and what a mutual friend of ours told me, that guy thought she was single, that her deadbeat, neglectful boyfriend who didn't even want her had dumped her the week of Halloween, because that's what she told him. He apparently stalked my profile about a week after the party and saw my post and ghosted my ex after that for lying to him. This is of course third-hand info. The guy never contacted me himself, so who knows how true it all is. But I trust the base info. She wanted to date the guy. The guy found out she was a cheater and ghosted her. She complained to friends and friends blew my phone up. Not the a-hole. Your ex-girlfriend cheated, and then she called you to tell you. I honestly feel it's because she wanted you to break up with her. Well, she got what she wanted, as well as everyone finding out about her actions. It's none of the friends' business, because I doubt if their significant other cheated on them, they would hold back. 100% this. Her friend/sibling don't like that the truth drags her name through the mud. Too bad. As a person who was cheated on and dumped when I was starting to catch on, then had that person defended to me when I brought up what happened? Screw him. Don't want to have your reputation tarnished by having your cheating be made public by people asking? Don't cheat. Not the a-hole. I am always 100% in favor of social consequences for unfaithful partners. Should I have just acted like it was mutual? Heck no, because it wasn't. She cheated. Feel free to fly one of those airplane banners over the city if you so wish. My girlfriend cheated! Lots of exclamation points just for fun. My ex-wife told me she needed a break. I was distraught. I was apologizing for 2 weeks saying how I wanted to work it out. She stayed at her parents', and we talked a lot that week. Come to find out, she was telling her parents she was staying with me to talk while going to this guy's house, and then agreeing to go to couples therapy with me. This came out, and I flipped. Told everyone. She was only ever mad I didn't keep our relationship between us. Screw that. You mean between me, you, and the guy you were banging while I was a mess for 2 weeks trying to salvage it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for disowning my eldest daughter for going after my youngest daughter's boyfriend? I'm at a loss here. I have 2 daughters, 28-year-old Madison and 23-year-old Naomi. Madison has always been a problematic child for things outside of her control. As a young girl, she's always been what people call a pick-me girl, needing to be the center of attention constantly and trying to one-up people in any way she possibly can. This started happening around age 8. She was in extensive therapy for years, and ultimately it was chalked up to abandonment issues and seeking male validation due to her father essentially wanting nothing to do with her after years of being a daddy's girl. She did come down in her teen years though, and we thought maybe therapy, both personal and family, was finally helping. She started dating a real nice guy, Tommy, around 5 years ago, but they split up back in December because he wasn't ready for marriage and she was. It destroyed her mentally though, and she started to spiral back into her old ways. Now, Naomi started dating Heath a bit over a year ago, and they started talking about marriage and babies around the same time Madison and Tommy split up. I didn't notice the signs originally, but back a month and a half ago, it became really obvious that Madison had her eyes on Naomi's boyfriend. Like whenever we would invite her for family dinners, she would ask if he was going to be there, and come dressed to the max in flashy revealing clothes and flirt excessively. At this point, I told her she needed to tone it down and suggested she gets back into therapy. She informed me that she didn't mean it and that she was just finding herself again after a bad breakup, and insisted that she had no interest in Heath. We just all took her for her word. But Naomi called me in hysterics 3 nights ago and asking to come back home. We open our doors, obviously. That's when she tells us that Madison and Heath started an affair, and that Madison had been messaging Heath constantly for 2 months or so, and that she saw all the messages. I calm Naomi down, and when she gets to bed, finally, I call Madison and ask her about it. She confirms and says, "It's not like I meant for this to happen. We just clicked, and I'm so happy with him. It sucks because I did hurt people in the process, but I feel I deserve some empathy here too." I was shocked. I told her she was no longer a part of this family, and that she made her bed and now she will have to lay in it. Other family members are telling me I'm a bit too harsh, knowing Madison's history with mental issues, but I can't even look at her the same. I'm disgusted by her. Not the a-hole. She clearly did mean it and wanted it to happen based on her activities up to that point. I am sorry this happened to you and your younger daughter, but you made a tough choice to stand up for her. Yep. How do you accidentally have an affair? Are you saying you never tripped down a flight of stairs, and also someone else also tripped down those same stairs, and as you're rolling down said stairs, you end up in an accident sex? It's not like I meant for this to happen. Yeah, it was. She deliberately went after him because her relationship failed and her sister's was blooming. And so she got angry and went to steal her happiness. She doesn't care about you or her sister. She's the only thing that matters in her life. Honestly, she's probably not upset you disowned her, but likes the attention of playing victim. Tell other family members that they can believe what they want, but how would they feel if she had decided to target their partner just because she couldn't stand to see someone else happy while she wasn't? This, plus at 28 she's plenty old enough to know better. If she was 15, I'd sit her down to explain things. But she's 28, old enough to know you don't sabotage her sister's relationship or sleep with her boyfriend because her own boyfriend dumped you. This is an important lesson she needs to learn, and if you let it slip, she will remain an a-hole. And Heath will learn his own lesson over the next 2 to 6 months when he realizes what is given up in order to fool around with a mentally unstable narcissist. Like, there's a very short list of the worst people to have your affair with. Your partner's parents, your partner's kids, your partner's siblings, your partner's exes, anyone in a relationship with any of those people. That's it. Roughly 10 to 50 people out of your entire town, /cities, /states, /whatever. Do not touch them. Because not only are you far more likely to get found out, but even if your partner might forgive you for cheating with a stranger, they will never forgive you for cheating with those people. Not the a-hole. And applause to you for taking a stand and supporting the daughter who did nothing wrong. Too many parents say, well, I don't want to pick sides. I love you equally, which only punishes the victim and enables the wrongdoer. I know your youngest really appreciates you having her back. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom she should learn how to keep her legs closed? So I, 15 female, and my mom, 37 female, have never really had a great relationship. We have the same attitude, so us together doesn't really work out. Also, she's always getting herself into toxic relationships, which ends up affecting me and my sisters, 19 female and 9 female. A few months ago, my mom started seeing this guy Fred, 45 male. At first, he seemed like a great guy, taking my mom out, buying her flowers, chocolates, etc. I liked him. He was nice. Then 2 months ago, I found a paper in our kitchen counter. I'm not really sure what they're called, but it was basically stating that my mom was putting in her 30-day notice to leave our apartment. I asked my mom about it, and she said that Fred wants us to move in with him and his 2 kids. However, she was asking me and my younger sister if we were okay with it. I said I didn't care, and my little sister said she didn't want to. My mom didn't listen to my sister, so we ended up moving in with Fred. In the first week we moved in, Fred started to show his true colors, telling my mom what she was allowed and not allowed to do in his house. For example, no drinking in the house as he used to be an alcoholic. He didn't want my older sister visiting every day, etc., which caused a lot of arguments between them. Fast forward to today, Fred went out to run some errands and called my mom. He told her he was buying her a Princess Peach's costume for his friend's son's birthday party, which is Mario Brothers theme. My mom said there was no way she was gonna wear that, so to not even bother to buy it. He kept insisting and my mom kept saying no and hung up. He kept calling her and my mom kept ignoring it. He kept calling and my mom picked it up and he was furious. He told her how dare she hung up on him. My mom said it's my phone and I can do what I want, and he told her, well, I bought it, which caused a huge argument. My sister's partner and sister were there at the same time. My mom told them that she has had enough of his BS and she wanted to leave. So she went to Walmart, bought boxes to put out the clothes and belongings in, called my aunt, and we packed everything and left. We moved in with my sister to their 1-bedroom apartment. I was so mad at my mom for putting us in this situation. I was already tired of my sister's partner telling me that it's their house, so I had to follow their rules for the millionth time. So I told my mom she better find us a place to live ASAP. She told me I should be grateful we had a roof over our heads, and we wouldn't be in this situation if we had told her we didn't want to move in with Fred. I was furious at that point and corrected her by saying if only she knew how to keep her legs closed and thought with reason and not lust, we wouldn't be in this situation. So stop blaming me and my sister for it. She slapped me and called me an ungrateful witch. My sister and cousins keep telling me that I crossed the line for basically calling my mom a whore. But I was tired of her blaming me and my sister for her bad decisions. So am I the a-hole for telling my mom she should learn how to keep her legs closed? So I have relatives like this, always need to be with a man/woman. They can't handle being on their own, and their children suffer. Could you have said something different? Of course. Were you wrong? No, you were not. Your mom has some self-reflecting to do, and just because someone is in their 30s doesn't mean they are a responsible adult. Best of luck to you, young lady. I too had a former friend who always had to have a man. Only difference is luckily there were no kids involved. I don't get it, because she has a college education. When she worked in insurance, she got numerous awards for the amount of insurance she sold. I used to go to her family's for Christmas, and she made a snide remark one time, referring to how long it had been since she thought I had been with someone. I let pass because I didn't want to ruin the holiday, but I was so close to saying, at least I don't settle for any Tom's hairy prick. Funny, my wife and I were talking about this recently and we're like, if we were to end our relationship after 32 years of us being together, we would be single for a long time. Not the a-hole. Facts are facts. That is why she lashed out at you. Start thinking now about building assets and money, so it'll be easier. Not easy, just easier, when you become an adult and want to distance yourself. Yes, save every penny from birthday and holiday money and from when you get a job. You won't be able to move out when you feel that you need to. And if you don't move out, use the money for college or trade school. Give your youngest sister a good role model. Am I wrong for making my son take a paternity test? This is a mess, and I would appreciate opinions from unbiased people. It was recommended that I post here and another page. I, female 39, have 2 kids, male 17 and female 10. When I was 21, I had a one-night stand which resulted in my son Austin, and the father wanted nothing to do with my child. When my son was 3, I met my husband Mark, male 38. My son adores my husband and calls him father. Austin met his current girlfriend through Mark's best friend Ellen, her father. Macy and Austin have been close since they were young, and we were all thrilled when we found out they were dating. After we found out, Mark and I sat Austin down and explained that we're happy for him, but we needed him to know the importance of safe sex, whether it was happening or not. He was disgusted, but said he understood and we left it at that. For context, my son is what others describe as shy and soft-spoken. He's really sensitive and takes harsh comments/actions to heart. We thought everything was fine with him until he came home crying. He eventually told us Macy had cheated on him. I was angry and urged my son to leave, but my husband calmed us both and asked to speak with Austin privately. Essentially, he asked Austin what he wanted to do and if he wanted us to stop seeing Macy and her father. Austin said he didn't want that and wanted to work things out with Macy. I was upset but didn't say anything, and ever since that happened, I've hated seeing her around. All I think about when I see her is my son distressed and crying his eyes out. I act cordial around her, but I don't like her. Around February, Austin came home looking rather upset again, so I sat down with him and asked what's going on. I wasn't expecting to hear him say what he said to me. Macy's pregnant. I was furious. I told him I expected better from him. I also said that before anything happened, he needed to do a paternity test. He was angry that I suggested she cheated again, but I didn't like how she was suddenly pregnant. When Mark came home from work, I filled him in and he was equally upset. We all sat down and discussed it. Austin explained that I demanded a paternity test was done, and Mark wasn't happy to hear that. I explained that she's cheated before. She could have cheated again. That led to a huge argument before we all calmed down. I asked if her parents knew. Apparently not. He said she agreed to tell them tonight. And sure enough, about an hour later, Mark gets an angry call from Alan demanding that my son marries his daughter. And if Austin refuses, he demands that he pay child support and stay out of the kid's life. Of course, we were all angry and exhausted. So I said that nothing was happening until a paternity test was done, and I wasn't taking the word of a cheating little girl. He blew up at us, and it was radio silence after the call. Macy was then told she can no longer see Austin, and he took it out on me. A few weeks ago, Alan contacted us and agreed to do a paternity test. I asked quite a sudden change, but he ignored me. He said he set up the appointment for May 5th. Austin went with Mark. He said he didn't want to be around me. It stung, and I won't lie, it made me cry when he said that. Results finally came in a few nights ago, and he isn't the father. He was shattered. But instead of apologizing, he screamed that this was my fault, and he would have never known. He hasn't said much to me since. Maybe I was wrong for making him do a paternity test, but I was only looking out for my son. Was I wrong for making him take a paternity test? You're not wrong. The girl was a known cheater. Your son was an easy mark. He is young, sensitive, and hurt. This pregnancy would have affected his entire life going forward had he been the father. He will appreciate your insistence on the paternity test after he has a chance to sort his emotions. Or pay child support for a child that isn't his, just to have her throw that fact in his face 10 years down the road. Finding out now is the best scenario. Or he stays with her and she continues to cheat and raise a child that isn't his. He will understand one day. He's hurting right now and you're just the person he took it out on. Once he understands the gravity of the situation and what it takes to raise a child, he will thank you. Exactly. At 17, my mother got a lot of volatile, displaced anger thrown at her from me. Looking back, I think I raged at her because she was a safe person. By that, I mean even though there may have been consequences to my actions, I knew no matter what she wouldn't leave or reject me. Opie, your son is taking this out on you because he trusts that you love him and will be there for him when the dust settles. As counterintuitive as that may sound, it's safer for him to direct all his pain and anger at you than at the ex-girlfriend. You did the right thing getting the test. Continue to be there for your son as he processes this heavy ordeal, and eventually he'll come to understand. This applies to all ages. A friend told me the other night that she'd heard a loud house full of yelling and screaming is one where the child/children feel safe to express their feelings and opinions with their parents. It's the quiet houses that you should worry about. 1,000,000% not wrong. He will appreciate it one day. I'm not sure why your husband was so against the paternity test from the start though. Since your husband was against it, your son feels like you're in the wrong for pushing on it. He's just dealing with a broken heart right now. Don't take it to heart. My take on the husband is that maybe this is a sensitive topic for him, since he's taken on a fatherly role to Opie's son who isn't biologically his. This is obviously a very different situation, and Opie is in the right. But I wonder if Opie's immediate jump to a paternity test has triggered something for the husband about Opie not seeing him as Austin's real father, or something to that extent. Next story. 18 years ago today, I was essentially erased from my family's existence. Today marks 18 years since I was told that the man I called Dad my entire life got DNA test results back and confirmed I wasn't his biological son. It also marks 18 years since we've spoken. In his eyes, regardless of raising me my entire life, I don't exist. The kicker is that my mother is still with him and lies to everyone about his relationship with me. I am not welcome in their home, and there are 0 pictures of me or my children displayed. I've effectively been erased from existence, at least in his head. He and my mom married prior to the Vietnam War, and when he returned, he decided he didn't want to be married anymore. So they split, and she started seeing someone in the office she worked. He got jealous and wanted her back, so they got back together. Apparently, my conception occurred during that break. In the 18 years since we last spoke, I've learned who my biological father is, though he will not recognize the fact even with conclusive DNA tests. I've learned of at least 4 half-siblings, all of which are significantly older than me. While I've been able to connect with them, there really isn't any type of relationship there. The biggest impact this event had on me was increasing my issues with abandonment and feelings of worthlessness. It negatively impacted my ability to form meaningful relationships and continued to make me feel alone in the world. By all observations, I have a decent life. I'm a father to 2 wonderful children, involved in a community, and helped at their respective schools. But I still feel out of place, like I'm playing pretend around others. I constantly second-guess every interaction I have and never feel worthy of anyone else's time. It has been a major struggle. Battling anxiety and depression at the same time only makes it worse. Isolation of working from home plays into it, but I am happy in my current company. Only a select few people in my real life actually know any of this, and I feel like I'd be even more of an outcast if I told others. I just put on a smile when I'm in public and pretend like there isn't a huge hole in me. I don't even expect anyone to even read this whole bumbling spewing of word salad, but at least I've told the universe. If you are still reading this, I just want to say thank you for taking the time. I see you. I hear you. It sucks when someone else's problems become ours. Mostly the situation sounds like a him problem, not a you problem. Unfortunately, your mom and he have made it a you problem. The world has your back. Keep being the most you can be. Your validation comes from you, not another single person alive gets that work. Thank you. It's definitely difficult when people from my childhood ask how my dad is. I suppressed my feelings about the situation so long, but thankfully counseling has helped. You don't have to lie. Lots of people ask me why my dad wasn't around for my childhood. At first, I would lie or dance around it, but I realized it's so much better to say he was an alcoholic. I'm not hurting him by being honest. People don't look down on me for his choices. I've reconnected with my dad and still love him, but I'm still honest when people ask. It's my truth. Feel free to tell yours. The way your parents have treated you says more about them than it does about you. No child deserves that kind of BS. Yes, this. Exactly this. The father thinks someone's genetic material matters more than all the time they spent building a relationship. The fact that he can just tear it down in a second speaks volumes about him as a human being. Those volumes, of which there are enough to fill a small library, just say insecure, hurtful, self-centered dumpster fire of a human being over and over again for 4,000 pages, and have a middle finger embossed on a cover. The mother is either complicit or so horrifically mistreated as to be cowed into going along with it. Either way, it makes me want to vomit. Opie's family's where they find it. These wastes of oxygen are not deserving of him. He deserves friends and family who love him and accept him as he is. Thank you for the message. A new study was just published in Psychiatry Research and shared through SciPost.org that discusses the difficulties that people who have a non-parental event struggle with, and I opened my eyes. There is a Facebook group that I've joined for support in dealing with this. I would very much suggest that you befriend an older man. Robert Bly, an 80s philosopher, said, "Every young man needs an older man in his life." I'm over 60 and have been very fortunate to have had a number of these friends and mentors in my life over the years. You might start looking around at neighbors, church, social groups, maybe even an old folks' home. A lot of older folks like to talk about their history, but if you find the right one, they can and will want to be a friend/mentor. It only takes one. P.S. Your dad is probably a self-absorbed and flaky scumbag. I want to be married. I don't. I do. And your mother is likely an extremely weak and bad person not to care about her son. I actually have, to an extent. My high school swim coach became a valued mentor and taught me so many things. Upon graduating high school, I actually joined the staff as a coach and served under him for 19 years until he retired. Another set of parents of some kids I coached have become somewhat of a surrogate family as well. We have dinner every week together, which has been helping a lot. I appreciate your comment. Edited to add, the outpouring of support that I've received has been incredible. I want to thank each and every person who has commented or messaged, and I'm doing my best to reply to each of you. Whether you've had a similar experience or offered advice, from the bottom of my heart, I greatly appreciate it. Last story. Girlfriend 23 female appears to be seeing this guy 21 male behind my 25 male back. I sometimes go on her laptop to help with work stuff. Last time I was on it, a message came through from this guy I'd never heard of. I looked and they appeared to message very frequently, but the fact that I only just saw it after how many months gives me the impression that she mutes notifications from him when with me, but forgot this time around. I don't mind people having friends, but from the messages I've seen, this friendship seems to be very strange. The messages are platonic enough for the most part, but she is a very reserved girl, and the messages between us would appear to be platonic to an outsider, so I just can't take it at a surface level. I also know they messaged on multiple apps, because in some messages she was like, "Hold on, we'll go to the other chat," which just adds to my suspicions. I have no idea what this other chat is. But that's not even what upsets me the most. Like I said, I'm fine with her having friends. But there were a few conversations that make me think that it isn't just an ordinary friendship. I don't want to analyze too much of the convos in this post because it'll get too long, but a good summary would be that they seemed to confess to liking each other when they were out somewhere. And a convo the next day was basically her saying that she likes him, but doesn't know what to do, and at least for now, she's with me. Her exact words. Initially, I thought, okay, fair. A boundary was crossed and she set the record straight. However, prior to that convo, they seemed to hang out as part of a work group. But following that convo, they started hanging out alone, just the two of them. Messages are one thing, and I can just read them and come to a conclusion. But what on earth happens when they're out together? And why the hell would she hang out with a guy who she knows likes her if there wasn't some hidden motive? Oh, and there is something else. She usually stays at mine every weekend, but she doesn't tell him that. She tells him that she's hanging out with a family or going to a friend's, which makes me think she's been hiding me from him too in recent weeks. I don't know why she would do that, especially since she told him she's with me, but that was 3 months ago. I haven't told her anything because there are so many gaps and I don't want any plausible deniability. I need to see this other chat, but she is extremely private, so there is no precedent to look at her phone. I think I'm going to ask who he is and mention that I saw a message come from him and see what she says. If I get the impression that she's being dishonest, I'll tell her what I saw and go from there. I don't want to come to any conclusions before at least speaking to her, so I want to get it right. How should I go about this? Shall I wait for more proof or bring it up to her now? Now for the top advice before the mini update. Just end it. You don't need this nonsense in your life. Agreed. OP, you don't need this mess in your life. If this is how she behaves when she's your girlfriend, then what is your recourse would be if she starts doing the same if she were to be your fiancé or your wife? Please be glad that she showed you her true colors now, instead of 10 years from now. I'm going to sound like such an old prick, but you're so young. Is this really something you want to fight for? I'm an old prick too, and while I might have mooned over a girl when I was in my 20s, at my age, I have realized that this kind of bollocks is just too draining. Let her go, OP, and find someone who isn't playing two blokes off against each other. Cut your losses now and put it down to experience. In her head, she's already getting her legs blown off by him. You're just a safe bet. I guarantee it won't be too long before she really does succumb to his charms and ends up doing the dirty and bringing home something that'll have you taking antibiotics or antivirals for God knows how long. Don't do it yourself. I just have to ask, say she is biding her time while she chooses between you, and in the story you laid out, the best case scenario is she chooses you. Now what? Now you have a girlfriend who makes you insecure, who is wishy-washy, who is not fiercely loyal. You may care about her after a year, but consider this a bullet dodged. You would never want to marry somebody like this. You guys have only been dating for a year. Your relationship should still be fun, exciting, and new. If she's already bored and looking elsewhere, why would you want to spend any more years with her? Update. This probably warrants an update post, but I can't be bothered at the moment, and we'll just sum it up here. I reached out to the guy and he seems nice, but I can't tell if he's lying and I don't really care at this point. He said their relationship has been platonic, but she does act inappropriately sometimes when they're together, but he brushes her off. He said that he did like her, but sees her as a lost cause who doesn't know what she wants, so he has been trying to distance himself. He also said she's the one who reaches out to him and asks to go out, but I've seen multiple of instances of the opposite, so I don't trust what he says. I think he's trying to cover his back. Either way, I'm breaking up with her.